Hello guys, welcome to Digital Beer Stream. Welcome everyone. How are you? Week number 11, I think, 9, 10. Can't really remember, I think it's number 10. And welcome to the coach stream. On the coach stream, we're having a 30 minutes digital beer education program dedicated to deliver expert insight into the world of beer. So it could be all sorts of, focus, all sorts of topic. And today we really want to go a bit outside the UK, which normally, is the area that we're covering in here. And I'm surrounded with plants, all sorts of plants. I'm trying to let them grow and become beautiful. It's not an easy job. I'm good talking about beer. I'm not super good talking about plants or with plants, but I'll do my best. I try to wear a polo shirt as well, so I'm looking a bit more professional. Because, we're getting close to the time where the new normality is going to be, the world and the planet where we are fully immersed. So I'm going to speak the whole week with people from different background in Europe. So today, for example, is Belgium, which I'm really, really looking forward because the first beers that I used to drink were Belgian when I was back in Italy. So it's really, 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 familiar for me type of word. And I'm trying to drink also as well, like European beers. So I choose to drink a fresh can of the Crack Brewing from Italy, northeast of the country. And is a Guerrilla IPA, which is a pretty well-made IPA. I heard beautiful things, and despite the fact I'm Italian myself, I never really tasted this beer before, so I'm really, really, really curious to see what's gonna happen. And today I'm gonna chat with a guy that I really respect. I met him on a festival in Bruges, and it was a beautiful festival. Bruges Beer Festival is my favorite festival, beer festival in the world. And Dimitri is the Geek-In-Chief for the Brussels Beer project, which is a great brewery. Don't know if you ever try anything from them. I love the fact that they really almost like spin a massive wheel of future and uniqueness and brand new things into the classic Belgian Abbey word. So I'm really, really looking forward to speak with him and understanding a bit more about especially how to build a contemporary beer portfolio in one of the most traditional beer countries in the world. And when I say traditional beer countries, I mean, of course, Belgium has been crazy, back in the days, creating some of the most unique style beer you can find. Think about very, very crazy stuff, But, in these days, people maybe are being more focused on different type of things. Could be even more like flavors and aromas and different styles, and the celebration of Belgian culture has been a bit, I don't want to say redundant, but it's been around for a very long time. So if you just give me 1 second, I'm gonna try to invite Dimitri over and start to have a conversation, putting the volume up and taking off the music a bit so we can start to chat. Hello.
Hi, Gabriele.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure, man. I really wanted to see you in a long time.
It's been a while.
You look fantastic. Where are you? Is he your house? Tell me.
I'm home indeed. I got my Corona hair that's still not cut. We're in Schaarbeek, like from the cherries.
Wow.
That's where I live. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. I mean, if I just watch out from my window, I see a bit of the Arsenal Stadium. Just the beginning of it. It's not. It's fascinating, but no. How have you been?
Good. I'm alive, so that's very important. It's been crazy times, but things are getting back to normal somehow. So it's all good.
Nice. I can say the same thing in here, to be honest with you. The UK is lifting very quick, all the measures that they were following in these recent days. And, I know you are familiar with London as well. So pubs aren't open yet, but they found a way to give beer to the people.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, you know, growlers and takeaway pints and all sorts of stuff like that, which is interesting. And what about pubs in Belgium or in?
Well, they actually opened last night, so I had a long day at the brewery, and when I left, I was completely done. I didn't have the energy to go into a bar, but it was the first night, and so I was looking across from the brewery, and I saw, you know, this place that's very familiar to me, called the Walvis Whale, and there was people sitting inside, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's happening now again. Like it was, it's cool. I'm probably gonna hit a bar after this chat. Just, you know, it's been a while.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane, man. I mean, most of the people have been chatting about beer. They were happy to chat about beer, but then in the same time, there was a time where they were being like, "Yeah, but I mean, you can speak about beer as much as we want, but what I miss is actually the interaction, the pub sharing experiences." So we really need that, and
Yeah, we need that social time, you know.
I really do, and especially in London, trust me, like wow. And what would I like to say to you? Basically, I'm sure you've been busy a lot at the brewery as well, like all sorts of things, readapt, business almost, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we're one of the, you know, we'll talk about it, but we're a modern brewery, so we were able to adapt. And maybe as one of the few breweries, we went online very quickly with our beer. We had a web shop for merchandising, but we hadn't put our beer online yet, which was kind of weird for the brewery we are, but we hadn't done it. And so as soon as we know we were going to go into quarantine, we pretty much just threw our beer online. We were able to ship beer to people in strong boxes, for a monthly or bi-monthly subscription,
Wow.
but not on a pick and select and fill your own box kind of way. So we sold quite a bit of beer online, and that's definitely helped us to be okay in this time. Yeah.
Great to hear that. And I also know that you have a brand new beer probably in front of you, so maybe you want to try it as well. I don't want to wait too long before.
It's already open. So we had to jump on the we had to jump on the altogether train, you know.
You did well.
We like hops, you know. So we actually just mobile canned it today. I transferred it yesterday, and then my colleague David late last night force carbed it, and then so it went into cans today with another beer. We don't have a canning line yet. So we're mobile canning sometimes. Belgian beer culture is still very bottle forward, but we're trying to push cans for sure. Yeah, so I got a massively hopped beer next to me. It's one of the Haze boys, you know.
Look at that. Wow. I went for another European brewery, which is really hot in the UK as well, which is
great looking can as well.
I never tried the Gorilla, which apparently is the flagship.
Never had it. Well. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Definitely got bitterness. This one, very West Coast. What about your one? It's like
I mean, what are the appropriate words for a New England juicy, dank, chewy? There's a little bit of heartburn, but that's okay. I actually want a lager, but this is what we can today. So.
Right. But what is the actual word to ask a dank, juicy, and IPA or hoppy beer in Belgium? I don't know. I never asked one before.
You cut out for a second. How to ask for it?
Yeah, like how would you ask for a contemporary juicy or New England and beer in Belgium? How would you describe it?
One, few people are going to ask for it. You know, people who know the appropriate breweries, they know that is going to be the standard. You know, because a lot of IPAs moved this direction, and some breweries are now at that level, and there's hardly any clear IPAs left in their lineup. I mean, generally it's just what's the new one, you know? And so for us and a few other breweries here in Brussels and Belgium, and a few craft beer bars that are more focused in that direction, it's just, I mean, people want the new one, right?
Hey, okay, fair enough, right? So we were discussing before then you have a strong experience in this city in London in the UK, and you were working for Brew By Numbers, right?
Yeah, I remember when I wanted to work in beer, you know, like I was looking around in Belgium and I was looking for something new wave because I obviously, as a kid, you know, in Belgium, you start experiencing beer drinking from a decently young age. And little by little, when you have the money and the experience and you're okay with some more bitterness and stuff, you try a very wide range of styles, you know. But my then girlfriend and now wife, she's from the US, so I remember visiting her in the US, and I was going through these liquor stores, and I was looking for the Belgian beers. I was like, "Oh, look, this beer is in the US," and then I looked around, and I was like, "Wait a minute, there's like hundreds and maybe thousands of different beers from the US," and I thought they only made shitty beer, you know, with my horse, you know, like thinking that Belgian beer was the best in the world. And I started trying them, and they were, you know, very bitter, because obviously West Coast IPAs were like very hardcore back then. Yeah, she's actually from the West Coast, and I had to start trying them, and little by little, I was like, "There's another world," and so there is really cool new wave breweries, and that's what I actually wanted to work for. You know, like little by little, I understood that this would be an interesting market for me to get into, and London somehow was easier than Brussels 5 years ago.
100%, yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
So let's say, I'm sure you learned a lot out from the experience that you had in the UK, and I noticed the brewery where you went after was actually embraced completely the concept that you mentioned right now, breaking the rules, creating what wasn't available before. So if we will put something on your experience bag that you learned from the UK, what would you be apart from all of these new exotic styles that you haven't had before?
Oh, I have a degree in business, so I mean I have that background. So, but I decided to go into this industry because of passion, because of the people behind it, and so when I was able to start at Brew by Numbers, you really learn everything about the business. You know, your packaging, you know, your hand labeling, you're transferring, you're helping in every single facet of the company. You know, in the weekend you have the pop-up bar shop, whatever, you know, that you pull in and you pull out every day of the weekend. And so to me, I really got a view of all different parts of the business, and you learn to be hands-on. If I look back to that time, I'm like, I remember, like, whether it was with Bates, who's now at Duration, or Matt, who's now at Amundsen in Norway, all the people I was surrounded by, Chris Hall and so on, like, you really were just picking up a lot of information, because like I was tasting beer and they were saying all these fancy words of how to describe them, and I was just like, this is nice, it's fruity, but like, it takes time, especially developing your palate, your nose, and then just learning all these different parts of the business. And for me, it's fun to follow up on the UK scene today and just see where people are today and how the business has just exploded. And I cannot keep track anymore, like, I love beer and I love new beer, but there's so many new projects and breweries that I really cannot track it anymore.
I think it's 120 or something around there in the city of London, so within the M25, which is a number, and the UK entirely probably is up to 2000 or something like that, and like there's a decent amount of beer out there, and if you want to try everything, especially because you have to try the hot ones, like the really cool ones. Then you have to try the one from the brewery that you like. Then there is a new brewery making a beer that you didn't hear for in a long time, and the list is growing.
Yeah, it's endless now.
Have you seen message from Ora Daniele? He says, "What do you miss the most in the UK?" I have my theory. What do you miss the most?
One thing that you do as a beer drinker is you go through a massive journey. And obviously, for me, that's starting with Eurolager, Jupiler, then maybe Leffe, Hoegaarden. You start to getting into more Abbey-style, Trappist-style beers, Saisons, IPAs, sours. And I was never a huge cask fan. But I don't know when the moment happened when I really got into it. And I mean, there's a great bar here in Brussels called Gist, which is yeast in Flemish, and they just reopened last night, so I need to go back soon. But they have beer on cask, and so they have Ansbach and Hub day once in a while, and we've done a few casks. We need to do more, but I think that's what I miss the most style-wise. Well, it's not a style; it's a way of serving. But I wanted to order some different breweries from the UK in quarantine, and unfortunately, you guys are keeping your beer really well into your country, also because of the shit that's happening, and we don't want to talk about that. But I could order a beer from anywhere in Europe, but the UK was harder, and it was a bit frustrating.
So I didn't know you can't really find like that easy, British beer down in Belgium, because Belgian beers up here, in a certain instance, you can go well with it. To be honest, I would say that, and especially De La Salle, you guys, and okay, interesting to know that right.
Yeah, I think I could get it through some web shops, but I would like to order direct from breweries, and whoever I tried, there was you could ship it within the UK, but not outside. I think that's unfortunately maybe a Brexit effect, or maybe the demand is high enough for those breweries that they don't have to. But I ordered some beer from from Denmark, from Germany, directly. I guess these days that's easier, but.
Oh, okay. Well, and this is not even the worst part. We should wait until after December, and then you will see how easy it will be to around. But let's keep it on the side. I love the fact that when I see your name next to Brussels project, there is this job description which sounds fantastic. Is Geek-In-Chief. And I'm sure that means the passion and the curiosity that you have into beer almost gave you that title, right?
Yeah, I mean, I came back to Brussels from London, and then I became Taproom Manager at BVP. So we're heading towards 5 years that I'm there. With the experiences that I built up in London, I mean, that's definitely part of why I'm at Brussels Beer Project today. I think that experience in London, I think was the final push for them to decide to hire me. So, I mean, I was the number 5 at the company back then. There were 25 people. Things have obviously changed a lot with a bigger team like that. Geek-In-Chief is one way to call me. The other term that's like come up more and more is like the bee. I'm cross-pollinating between production and more of the people who are behind the scenes. Because there's a lot of communication to be done. There's a lot of education to be done. Whether it's internally or externally, Belgian beer drinkers have a very strong opinion on beer. Doesn't necessarily mean they know everything about it, especially when we go more hop forward, aromatic wise, and so on. So that kind of entails everything that goes around that. I'm pushing people to take the Cicerone exam. I'm obviously quite a bit at beer festivals. It entails a lot.
Okay, and you drove me into the next question, which is, especially, I'm sure there are many Belgian beer members watching us right now, but I'm sure like I can see Biri's even know is coming from the UK, and maybe he will enjoy to hear, for example, like how generally a Belgian person with a UK experience will describe the Belgian craft beer culture. And I said craft beer culture because I differentiate quite a lot, you know. Right there.
You know, it's been growing a lot in the last few years. So when BBP opened the brewery in the city center, so that is October 2015. Oh, we were the fourth brewery in the city to have a brewery. We obviously have Cantillon, which has been there forever. De la Seine on Stummelings just had started very smallly. I think now we're above 10.
Okay.
And there's a lot of little projects more than that. I think we might be close to 20, but some of them are pretty small. But with L'Hermitage, with La Source, with No Science, we have a nice. You know, I don't need to only drink craft beer at BBP and a few nice bars. I can go to other breweries, and that's that's refreshing. But you know, in Ghent you got Duck Brewing. I hope Antwerp can get some more stuff. It becomes more urban, you know, like Belgian breweries are in the countryside, you know, like going back 15 years ago into Brussels, and you think you arrive in the Mecca of beer. Yes, there's a lot of different beers, but you could only visit one brewery. You'd have to rent a car, and you were not even sure if they would let you in, you know. So you don't steal their yeast, you know. No, but so things are. I mean, and there's a lot more independent bars, and that's very important because, you know, like in many other countries, a lot of bars are owned by the bigger conglomerates, and then maybe as a small brewery you can get on the bottle list, but the bottle list is endless, right?
So let's say you are that type of brewery which really, as we said, creates or help create the crack, the division. Division from what? What is this beer that we are talking right now? I saw just this beautiful sentence: "Leave the happy, join the playground" on your website. Why? What's that?
You know, it's almost going back to what Belgian beer was about anyway. I mean, you know, we were the crazy guys in comparisons to the Germans, you know. We were the ones adding orange peel and all kind of stuff, you know, to our wheat beers. The Germans were like, I mean, this is Reinheitsgebot, this is it. We were the ones that were, you know, like being a bit more crazy. But because of lots of different reasons, you know, like, you know, you kind of get stuck in your ruts, and you are, how you say that, you're limited by the weight of your history. I mean, why do the Americans? Well, they're crazy once they go crazy. So I mean, why did they go crazy with beer? Is because they were like, "Wow, this is amazing! Let's go nuts!" And then we had to accept that change and innovation, and then reabsorb it and give it our own twist, you know. And that's what BBP is, you know. The owners are not from brewery families, you know. They don't need to brew, you know, another triple, or, you know, like they just decided, like, yeah, like, look at what's going on anywhere in the Western world. Belgium can absolutely use this, you know. Their families and friends were calling them crazy, like, you're gonna open another beer thing, like you're gonna go bankrupt real soon. Like, there's no need for more beer.
Right. And you know, it was this interesting situation where we met, and I remember very well, in the main square center of you know, Bruges, and we are drinking beers. People are doing that along with us as well, and I see on my left, you know, Dupont, I see Duvel, I see maybe Affligem, or maybe some other breweries like that. And then there is the stand where Russell B. Project was. Remember the sensation of curiosity that drinkers of all the breweries that I mentioned before, they had almost seeing you there and not recognize the palm clip, the colors, the names. Can these two cultures coexist together in a pub or in a drinker life? What do you think?
Oh, for sure. Otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, the company has been around for 7 years. I look at myself an example, and I was someone who got intrigued, one, by the different flavors, by the people behind it, by the stories, something I could relate to more than all of these big breweries. And there's quite a bit of people like that in Belgium, maybe you've tried all the different triples in Belgium, and that's already a challenge. But people were looking for new flavors, but you also have to explain what they are, like people would smell an IPA and they would say like, I'm not going to drink this because this smells like it's going to be super sweet. And you're like, wait a minute, like I have to explain you that the reason this smells fruity is not because I added cherry syrup, it's because there's these aromatic hops in it, and hops means generally bitterness. I mean, depending on where you put it in the brewing process. But let me explain you what's going on here. This is different, and luckily more and more people are open to that.
100%, and I'm sure, and I saw we have been witness of that, and like sometimes you think there is so much of that kind of beer, you're not gonna find venues. So I'm sure like new bars are also the one and supporting you the most as a brewer, right? So maybe people then were working along you, or people that you met along the way. And do you think like at the end of the day, classic beers help influence like new breweries' heritage, or is it all coming from the US? Is it all coming from New World?
I think it's a combination. I mean, because there are so many different beers, people are open-minded, like generally. You just have to explain them the new flavors and what the ingredients are that provoke those flavors. The way that we market, the way that we look, is obviously with a way more modern twist, with more colors, with more minimalistic, or there's no monk on here,
Yep.
It's not from 1666, so it's a combination of the two, like obviously Anglophone, like US and UK have influenced us a lot, but we also make sure that we that it's still a Brussels-based company, and we cherish the history, and we have styles beers where we take a more classic style and give it a twist, so we use both worlds together.
I remember the Delta, which is a gay, and then Grossbertha, which is Belgian Hefeweiss, and then you also have Along the Jungle Joy, which is a fruity double with tropical, and then you also have the Babylon, which is a bitter. So I'm thinking like all of these drinkers are drinking mostly 6%, 5% of their ABV. That's their culture. They're having it with food. It's not just about presenting them a beer. It's also sometimes changing their habits of drinking in pubs or in restaurants. And that I'm sure that was a challenge, right, for attracting new drinkers in your homeland.
For sure. I mean, one, it starts with convincing the bar owners, right? I mean, they see something very colorful and they're like, I think they didn't really understand what was going on. But again, like you have to explain what you're doing. I mean, you're a local-based company. Local is definitely something that's been working for so many breweries and attract their local drinkers. but what was I gonna say?
I mean, a 3% beer. How can you convince someone that normally drink Duvel to try a 3%, a 2.8? That won't be easy, right?
No, that's true. And honestly, like if I see the time that I've been there, we are brewing more and more lower, like even more than we used to. Like we're even like downgrading some of our all stars, you know, from 6 to 5 to 6%. Like we are convinced that you can have, you know, very similar sensations or even better sensations in lower alcohol than I guess the average Belgian beer drinker is like 7-8%. So I mean, I love low ABV, very flavorful, which is, you know, that's the tricky part. You need to, you know, like you need the experience to brew those kind of beers. But I mean, for the UK, it's like, I mean, I remember a friend who was in Scotland, and she's like, "Oh man, I ordered a Stella," and they were like, "You sure you want to, you know, order the wife beater?" And I'm like, "What? That's 5.3, right? I mean, that's your average Belgian lager." Like, but no, like 3-4%. It's a challenge to sell it, but we convince people over time, that's for sure. And internally, that's what we want to drink.
I know. Again, it's a contemporary drink for contemporary times. I don't want to say that in Brussels you have more time than in London to spend in a bar and sit in front of your beer anymore. Probably you have a bit more in the countryside as much as in the UK, but you can't be smashed if you socially drink with friends every day as it happening here, because
Sure.
Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble in many different
Yeah,
ways.
sure.
So even like seeing that you did the Picobello.
Yeah, which is right here. Yeah, I just had it before. Yeah.
There we go. I mean, you see, this is a really interesting move from a Belgian breweries, I would say.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's worth trying, right? So like non-alcoholic. This is 0.3%. You know, like you know, do you want to try that? Like, is it gonna have enough flavor? Is it gonna be nice? I mean, this is the beer that I drank the most in quarantine, because like if you're drinking even if it's 4% beer like every day, like that's not good. So like this has been a very nice alternative, and honestly, I've been running quite a bit, and it's been very nice to have it after a run. We managed to develop this, and we're very happy to push this very hard, actually. Also, again in cans, to this market.
Okay. Another interesting thing is the fact that in the UK, more and more classic and historical breweries are almost like found out that the new generation breweries are now taking more and more and more pieces of what used to be their market. So you see them cooperating and co-brewing and, you know, doing things to this new generation, if not doing very similar styles. Do you see the possibility to do that with, you know, classic Belgian breweries, with people like with breweries like you guys? Like, I don't even know what kind of monster I'm thinking right now.
You want us to brew with Dupont, or?
Maybe, I don't know.
It's I mean, I'm open to anything. I think the Belgian family brewers, that's where it's mainly at. I think they have a very hard time accepting change. I don't know. I think more than in the UK. We'll see. I mean, things might change one day, but for now, I think that's probably what was similar in the UK. I don't think any progressive breweries were saying like, you know, like we're gonna have a collab with a classic brewery very soon. You know, 5 years ago, but things can change quite rapidly. I mean, I think of the Dupont collab with it was someone from the West Coast US. Was it Sierra Nevada or something? and they brought over like, you know, all these aromatic hop varieties, and the brewer smelled it, and he was like, I think you did something to this, you know, like you put some perfume on it. Because like he didn't expect those crazy tropical citrusy aromas from hops. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done for them to be convinced, and for them to understand that the market is changing, that we're part of the market, and that we're gonna stay here, and it's better to collaborate than trying to fight it.
100%, yes. But there is this thing about the new drinkers are gonna take the place of the old drinkers, and if the new drinkers have been initiated to contemporary products, well, then what we got to do? Some people said to me like, one day we're all gonna stop to put alcohol in beer. We're gonna put just CBD quantity. I was just like, okay, so fair, brilliant, vegan, gluten-free, and fermented with dextrose, CBD infused beers. Fair, okay. Don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds okay. And I know you have experiences in Paris and Tokyo as well, right?
Yeah, so when Olivier and Sébastien started the company, I mean, it was called Beer Project before it was called Brussels. So it was Beer Project Brussels. And so they really had in mind, like, we might have more hubs in the future, you know, where we actually brew as well. And you know, like, things change along the way. And so we don't have any other places than Belgium where we're brewing. But we did open a few bars abroad. The one in Tokyo is quite fun. That was quite early on that Olivier and Sébastien started working with Koichi-san, so importer in Tokyo, and he has a few bars. Japanese people obviously they like quite a bit Belgian beer, and they, I mean, they like modern design and so on. And he had a Hoegaarden bar. And he's like, I think I might want to rebrand it, you know? And so that was a very good opportunity for us to make a collaboration there and turn into a BBP bar in Shinjuku. I wasn't there, but I remember our old brewer like cutting off all the banners from Hoegaarden and just like go off the terrace and throw them away. And then obviously, France is a big market for us. I mean, one of the two founders is French, and we're still quite a bit of a French-based, French-speaking company. So obviously, France is a massive market. It's growing quite a bit in craft beer in the last few years. So we opened two places in France. They also reopened in the last week or so. I saw they put a new terrace because they are able to take some parking places, which is very nice. It's a nice compensation for not having business for that much time. No, but we get very good feedback in Paris. Obviously, that's even easier to send the beer than in a cold container to Japan. But Paris is so close, and we have a good team there, and the market is changing quite rapidly. So we're glad to be part of that.
I spoke with Karim Dubois from the Paris Beer Week, one of the organizers, president of Paris Beer Community, and he was telling me the love that he had for contemporary Belgian breweries, where you seems to share, you know, part of the of you know, your principles and sometimes, you know, different similar you know, styles and approach, the language itself, and maybe culturally as well. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. I think it's definitely something cool. And I noticed you have also the Anderlecht headquarter in Brussels as well. Like
soon.
That's coming soon. Perfect.
Yeah, so we're building a brand new brewery in Anderlecht. So we'll start building on that in September. That will be a proper production site, 50 hectoliters, still to be decided which manufacturer of the brew kit, but brand new building next to the canal, beer garden. No cars. Like it will be a bit destination because it's a little bit further away from the city center, but we're able to do, like some nice events there, I think. So we should be brewing there September next year, and then all the core range will be brewed over there. Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see a building that's 15 meters high, and it makes me think of Beavertown when I visited, Tottenham area. That's how it's going to look like, and I'm like, oh shit, man, that's crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I can compare the size completely, but it's like those kind of tanks. It's like, whoo.
And I noticed as well all the barrel projects that you have, the barrel aging, and you have to, right now on the website there were 2 different beers, and they were all both sounds very sexy in the way that they were described. So I hope to even find more with the new.
Yeah, I mean, and the facility we have downtown will become more mixed fermentation, more bacteria, more bread. That's where we're heading because, we have a lot of great, obviously, lambic, Gueus style of beers in Belgium, but I'm thinking of, what other beers in Belgium are, re-fermentation with bread than Orval. Like, there's so much to be done there because in between Gueus and Orval, there's such a big spectrum still to be done, and so that's where that brewery gonna head in the future once we can kick out the clean beer, I guess.
And try to get a bit of these, tourists and coming down. Me as well. Then coming down to visit the most historical parts of your brewing heritage. There is so much more to visit in Brussels. There is so much more to drink in Brussels, and that's why we're here. That's what we're trying to, remember everyone. And I have some tough questions for you now because I really like you, but hey, what can we?
Shoot.
Your best, like your most favorite, your favorite beer spots in, and because I'm sure you're gonna come soon in London, even just when the word is better. Your favorite spots in London as well. So please.
Cool. Let's start with London. I always need to go back to Bermondsey because that's where I started my professional beer journey, and it has changed a lot in 5 years. But I still like to do the mile, with the food in between, with the coffee in between. There's so many good spots to hit. I could spend more than a day and a night there. Like, I can spend a lot of time there. Yeah, I mean, there's so many places in town, like visiting is horrible because you need to pick your areas. But I love the Southampton Arms. I love King's Arms. I need to go to the Harp when I'm more central and drink cask. I need to go back soon because it keeps changing. So I need some tips, and people need to send me their favorite places right now because it changes all the time.
I'm not even joking. Like, give me early July to go and explore what's in London. Like, not because I want to be negative, but we need to understand, how hardly has been heated places. And I don't want to be negative one more time, but it's a fact.
Yeah. Well, it's a fact, yeah.
So let's see what is going to be active when we will do that. And what about Brussels? If I'm coming up, go. I know about,
Yeah, I mean, like you gotta hit the breweries, right? So we got L'Hermitage, which is which is around the corner from Cantillon. So get your sour in. You come with the Eurostar, you drop straight into Cantillon. It's 10 in the morning. You get out at 4 after sharing bottles with 50 Americans. And then you need IPA, right? You need to balance yourself out. So then you go to L'Hermitage, which is just a 5-minute walk away. La Source on the other side of town, which has a great tap room. And then bars. Like, I mean, I started drinking independent Belgian breweries when I walked into Moederlambiek the first time when I moved from Flanders to Brussels, you know, like Gendrin, Gendrenouille, de Ranke, de la Seine. I didn't know anything, you know, like I didn't know what Heus was, and I'm Belgian, and so I mean that's a classic place. Gist for some cask. I mean, I live in Schaarbeek, so there's a really cool bar called Par Botteur, which is the airlock, waterlock, which is just 5 minutes away, so I'll go there a bit later. But I mean, preferably independent bars, right? But I mean, there's some classic dark bars as well, you know, like there's not a whole lot of good beers on the menu, but if you have an Orval or a Taras Bulba, you're great, you know, like, I mean, that's the fun parts as well, you know, the not cool parts, but just like an authentic experience, maybe even a bit weird, but you still get good beer and, you know, like, yeah.
I like that. Well, I'm telling you, I will re-listen the video and recheck all the names, taking notes, or maybe
just come over and we'll go hit off.
I ask so far, what's the future of London beers, British beer, and to all the British guests? But I can't really do that with you, and I know you could maybe have an answer as well, but we're trying to understand Belgian beer. So anything really you will take a note of it, or would you, suggest to people to try or to visit or to take note of it? Something relevant, whatever.
I didn't hear you in the beginning. Like any things they need to check out
about Belgian beers, Belgian beer culture, and Belgian beer in Brussels in general, like something that you notify.
I really need to, like we've talked about it. You know, like you've really have two parts of you got the deep down grounded tradition, and then you have the new age. I think coming here, if you don't want to rent a car, which is you're drinking beer, so it's to just like go from a traditional place to a new place to a traditional place to a new place, and just keep seeing that contrast popping in and out. Because it's right there, you really walk from one traditional place to the next door into something super modern. So you're going from some super clear filtered beer to something that's muddy as whatever to drink lambic from tap, and yeah. So there's not really limits,
Explore. That's the man.
Yeah, and I always say, like, if you really want to enjoy it, you just gotta soak it in, Like, I mean, I like traveling around and hitting a lot of places just to taste a little bit of everything, and then decide if you really like it, come back and stay for a week, like, like I want to go back to Czech Republic and check out some other breweries, like I went to Pilsen and that was amazing. But there's so much more. I want to go to Bamberg, like never done that. But taste a little bit here and there, and then what you like, come back and enjoy it more.
Tomorrow I'm going to speak with the guys behind the Catraio in Porto.
I know them, yeah.
They are so legends. I met them.
They're cool.
Yeah. Really cool. And again, I don't know anything about what's happening in Portugal. So that's the beauty. That's what nice. Just because beer, we get to speak with people all around the world. What a great.
Actually, I'm working with two Portuguese people. One of them used to work for a really great craft beer bar in Lisbon, and then David Santos, and they will know him. He used to brew at Mean Sardine. I met him there. He moved over. He's been brewing with us for more than 2 years. Yeah, so it's a small world, right?
I had some beers in East London with him and other people involved.
Yes, he said he knew you. Yeah, he said he knew you. Yeah.
You see, and again, to everyone that is followed, we're not chatting about, we can still speaking about people that we met probably like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and somehow there are attached friends in common and yada yada. Yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
what would I like to say to you, Dimitri? And first, sorry if I spell your name badly the first time that I made the poster for the event.
Don't worry about it.
Actually, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to come down to Umbrasso to give you a big hug and drink some beers together.
Come here, and I want to be over there very soon again. Let's go to Arrogant Sour next year or something like that as well. I saw Little Earth Project was commenting as well, so that's another good excuse to meet.
It's too beautiful traveling and drinking beer, meeting people to risk to don't do it anymore. So we have just to be positive, and that's the best thing. Last question: are you going to deliver in Ireland? Are you aware of?
I need to check it out. I don't know if it's a bit trickier. We do ship quite a bit all over Europe now. I'll mark that question and get back to that person.
Fantastic. And have a beautiful rest of the evening, and I come up again, like, stay safe, look after yourself, and thanks everyone to watch.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and thank you Gabriele. See you around very soon, and thank you again for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Ciao.
Ciao. Grazie.
Grazie a te.
Alla prossima.
Alla prossima. You know everything.
Ciao.